All right, so in our previous videos, we have introduced what an array is, how to declare arrays, how to access arrays, and we have also shown a little bit of examples on how we can understand these concepts. And now let's dig in deeper on how to initialize arrays. Okay, so we have declared arrays. Now we want to initialize arrays. Okay. So earlier we have example that individually assigns a value to each element of our array. So here's an example. So we know that uh, an individual element in an array works like an ordinary variable, and it's an L value, which means that for each element we can assign values to them. So for example, we have assigned 57 to the first element of grades na array, and then we access its value by using subscripting. So the first element is accessed by grades of 0. Then similarly, we also assign a value 85 to the second position in the array, and then access it, and so on. And then we have also mentioned that arrays work like typical variables, so we can perform operations with them, right? So this is quite a dirty code that we have there, right? So what if we have 95 students? We have 95 grades to 95 grades, and we have to assign it one by one. So what we can do is to use a loop. Well, you use a loop, but what if you have a predefined na values of arrays already? So the problem with the looping is that you enter every time you want to use the code, you have to enter all those values again. Okay, so and then if meron kang mali, uulitin mo na naman siya. But then so it is possible to initialize an array at once. Okay, so as with other declarations, array declarations can include an optional initialization. So scalar variables are initialized with a single value, and our arrays naman are initialized with a list of values. So this list is enclosed in curly braces, which is referred to as the initializer. Okay, so suppose we have this example. So we have the grades, and then with data type float, and the length of maximum length of 5. So, and then enclosed in the curly braces are the list of values that we want to assign to each of the element of grades. Right. So you can initialize an array in C either one by one, that we have shown in the first slide, or using a single statement. So we have this array of length 8 and data type na int. So enclosed in the curly braces are the elements that we want to assign to array. And it is not necessary to define the size of arrays during initialization. So you don't have to include here a length. So and then you can also specify the values without specifying the length, right? So also the number of elements cannot be larger than the number of elements that we declare for the array between the square brackets. So for example, we have specified that it's 8. So we only have the list of values should only contain at most 8 values. So if you omit the size of an array just big enough to hold the initialization is created. So in other words, since we have omitted the length here, and then the number of elements here, the number of elements will be the size of the array. Okay, so meaning 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So meaning this an array of length 10 will be created. Okay, so the compiler determines the size of array by calculating the number of elements of an array. So for example, we didn't specify the size, but we have the values here. So and your compiler has determined that it has eight na elements. So that will be the size of your array. Okay, so if the list or initializer is shorter than the array, then the remaining elements of the array are given the value of 0. So for example, this one, you have initialized grades with a length of 5, and then you have only in your initialization you have only included 3 values. So the rest of the elements of the array will be assigned with a value of 0. Okay, so using this feature, we can easily initialize an array to all zeros. So initial value of A will be grade 0, 0, etc. Okay, so here's again, sorry, this should have been the lines of codes for this final rendered output. So this 57, 85, and 97 are the only initialization. So we only have 3 values for grades with a length of 5. So the rest will be 0. And then ito naman, if we just set this as 0, so all the five members of the array or elements of the array will have a value of 0. So it is an integer. So that's why nawala tang decimal point. All right, so we have this another example. So this one, we have an array A with length 5, but we initialized it without any value. So it is illegal for an initializer to be completely empty. So we can put a single 0 inside the braces in order to set each of the element of the array as 0. So often, there are relatively few elements of an array that need to be initialized explicitly. So other elements can be given default na values. So for example, we have with a length na 15. So at this specific na highlighted na positions, we only want to initialize values for this. Okay, so we only want these positions to be initialized, but the rest of the other values are just zeros. So we have a question: what if we have to we need to do something like this for a larger array? So let's say 500, and there are 200 zeros between 2 of non-zero na values. So it is quite tedious, impractical, as well as prone to error. So what we can do is use designated initializers to alleviate this problem. So what are designated na initializers? So each number in brackets is said to be a designator, right? So let's say we have an array na B with a length of 15, and we only want to initialize values for these positions 2, 9, and 4. So we don't have to explicitly assign zeros to other positions, and then we just include here in the bracket key value na pair. So the key is its subscript. So the 2, 9, and 4 and their corresponding na values. So and then if you look through the values of the array na B, this is what it will show you. So 0, 0. The rest of the arrays are 0, but those parts that we have initialized, the B of 2, the B of 4, and the B of 9 are with the values 29, 48, and 7 respectively. Okay, so now it is shorter and easier to read for some arrays. And also, the order in which the elements listed no longer matter. So we can interchange the placement. So for example, dito, we have first we have initialized 48 to 4. Now, nauna nating na-initialize yung position 9 than position 2. So you can interchange their positions and yet we can correctly specify their values and it will still work we intend it to be. So that's it.